CSN Preseason Show. You knew it was coming. It's here. We've got the serial killer of Roddy Wayne Felder. The monster has assembled. I feel like after having dropped my kids off at school this week for the first week of school, I feel like this is the reunion, guys. I get to be with you. We get to talk football. We got a lot to cover. We don't have a lot of time. I know Wayne needs his on-air time. He's got notes. He's got copious amounts of knowledge that he wants to empty.
Can we just acknowledge the fact that Wayne's hair looks phenomenal right now? I mean, we don't usually do this on screens, but Wayne, you look great.
Hey, Roddy, as do you, but I was more focused on Felder. You've shed some poundage there, Felder.
Yeah, where's the rest of you?
Don't worry about my body, okay?
I mean,
he looks great.
I'm just saying, I'm throwing a compliment your way. I think you look fantastic.
For our audience,
Roddy saw me in person.
Yeah. We all saw each other in person, except for Wayne because he lives 3,000 miles away.
How did I look, Roddy? How did I look?
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, dare I say sexy? Like, if I may.
Hey, man, tell my wife.
So for our listeners that are accustomed to getting the podcast, great. Thank you. Welcome back. There is a video component to this that we're going to try to dabble in.
Oh, how are we doing it? Do I need to look better?
You look great. We all have faces for radio except for Roddy, who works in television.
Well, that's
but
bullshit.
there is a YouTube component, Varsity Network on YouTube. We're here. We're going to stay here, and we're going to do some fun stuff with video all season long. So thank you for checking in.
I just need another light over here. Is that what I need? Is another light over here?
Look good. It's
a little ring light, you know.
Get some, it looks like Hartzell's in black and white. I don't know what it's like. There's no color in your screen.
I'm in my basement. Thank you. I don't see color.
I'm in my basement too, but I can tell I'm hot here and I'm not hot here.
You look great. So here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna try to do. I've been told there are now 4 power conferences in college football. Okay.
Yes,
we have we have an announcement to make at the start of the show. Wayne Cook has transitioned from Pac-12 insider to Big Ten insider.
Wow.
Okay, that is breaking news here on the show.
Can I do this on the video?
Wayne has overnight transformed himself from a budget deficit at UCLA to a surplus. I mean, it happened just like that. So we've got plenty of Big Ten talk coming.
They can play palimony.
Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna bounce around these leagues.
Sense the poor UCLA Bruins are getting attacked.
Yeah, well, it's a rough schedule, man, and
it's okay.
The cupboard.
Start the media day. I mean, I'll say it.
Cupboard,
the elephant in the room.
Dude, is that where? Can we start with that?
No,
you guys. This is what's fun with the new additions to these leagues. Other than the fact that the SEC still can't step up to the plate and play 9 conference games, these schedules are for real. I'm fired up for. I mean, it's not just UCLA. SC's got a loaded schedule. Teams across the board are playing games. Almost everybody has that 3-game stretch, and then people act like the next 2 aren't that tough, but they're mid-level games.
Yeah,
this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a little Notre Dame too. Their schedule is a little manageable by Notre Dame standards.
Easy as hell. Notre Dame.
We will get to Notre Dame. Schedule. I promise we will get to Notre Dame.
But Roddy, I want to talk about Notre Dame for sure. So we're going to squeeze this in here because where do they have to be
to get in the playoff?
Yeah,
I think at 10-2 they're sweating. They're sweating at 10-2.
Right. That's what I'm They've got that summertime ass sweat that's going straight down the crack, and you're like, what is this?
I was thinking more like the Jordan Peele sweat going down, the sweating from the brow.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. What I'm thinking about is the summertime when you're my butt's sweating, and is this a fart or is this a real problem?
Oh no! Oh
man! So that to clarify, that's Notre Dame at 10-2. To clarify, that the summer ass
sweat and possible diarrhea.
But let's get to the
possible
to add to why this is going to be huge. If you watched, and I know Stephen, you were there at SEC Media Days, they chuckled their way to the SEC is going to get 5. A couple of the people working for the network even threw the number 6 out there.
I think 4 is very much in play. 4 is in play.
Throwing out 4, and I think
Can we put this baby to bed? Can we put this
left over, especially if you're an independent? I'm not saying that's true, Roddy,
Let me
you
put
know
this
this.
baby to
Who's
bed.
on it? The Pac-12 was attacked and defeated and ended. The ACC's under attack. I mean, it's like who's next? So it's nuts. I'm not saying any of the stuff I'm saying is true. I'm just saying the narrative is already being established.
I feel like this is a process of elimination thing. Like,
Okay.
what
Let's
is the
do it.
maximum? What is the maximum number of Big 12 teams you could see making the playoffs this year?
One.
Right, two.
One. I agree. I think it's one.
One might be the answer, but I would say
Outside shot at two.
Yeah.
What is the maximum number of ACC teams you can see?
Two.
Two. So we're up to 3 teams total.
That's
Then you
3.
got the Group of 5 champ. That's 4 spots of
Yep.
12.
Yep.
Now
Right.
the other 8 are coming from the Big 10 and the SEC.
That's
And let me
4
just
and
tell
4.
you, it feels like there's a lot more frauds in the Big 10 than there are in the SEC.
Well-
Michigan feels fraudulent.
Mhm.
Penn State, it's got a little fraudulent to them as well.
USC
I
for
think-
me.
I think, USC would have to present itself as something to be a fraud. Like they're not even in the
They got
conversation.
ranked. I'm like, really? What? Never mind.
Don't
Go ahead.
get triggered by rankings. I'll tell you what. I'm glad we started here with the CFP discussion because I want to start in the Big Ten. Is there any chance, Wayne? I will start with you, Big Ten insider. Any chance Ohio State and Oregon, both of those teams, are not a part of the CFP?
You know, I don't think so, but I don't know what you guys, Oregon's like the talk of the town. Like some people are even going as far as to say they think they're going to be at Ohio State. I don't. I think Ohio State's the best team in the conference. I think they're built to win this year. I think they're going to be hungry. It's what Michigan's done to them. I'm not going to lie. I think Coach Day giving as much as UCLA people got mad at Chip Kelly, I think he's going to fit there. I think they're going to run the ball with those running backs a lot better than they have, which helps you win big games late in the season. But
Junkins?
Oregon's loaded. Dylan Gabriel's Dylan Gabriel. They've got talent everywhere. But remember, this team was loaded last year too with Bo Nix, and they couldn't beat Washington. So as a program, you can have all the money, all the hype, all the flash, but you have to win those games. Doesn't mean they won't make the playoff because remember, 12 teams are getting in.
Right.
I still think, and this is just my opinion, I think Ohio State's the better of those two teams. I think the team that benefits the most, and I'm curious, and this is an easy answer, right? Without the divisions, Penn State is primed to take advantage of their schedule because they don't have to deal with Ohio State and Michigan. They just have to play one of them.
Fuck Penn State.
Really?
Very
You
good.
just remember Drew
From the
Adler
top
was young last year. Yeah, I know he gets attacked for what he does.
I'm not attacking.
Penn State's been a solid football program.
I'm attacking the adult in the room.
Division that kicks their butt every year. Go ahead, Felder. I like it when you get angry.
I'm like, here's the thing. Like, what do you want? Like,
spit it out.
How close can you get to sealing the deal and not sealing the deal? How close?
Well, I mean, he just can't beat Michigan and Ohio State. Like,
Right.
so part of me agrees with Wayne a little bit. I do think Penn State's a bit of a fraud, or maybe they have the fraud potential because, like, they open up at West Virginia. That is not a slam dunk. Like,
right.
that is a game that I would not be surprised if they walked into Morgantown expecting one thing and left with a ass whooping, which sets them up for a game against USC a little bit later on, Ohio State, Washington. I don't think they beat Ohio State. We'll see about Washington. The USC UCLA stretch, one of those at home, the other one on the road.
Right.
They go to USC. Like, I don't think USC is a better team than Penn State, but I do think if you have a sleepy game on defense and you give up a couple of scores, like, can Penn State score with them? They've got a new offensive coordinator in Andy Kotelnicki, and that stuff is not straightforward with what he does. I do think it helps. They've got a new defensive coordinator in Tom Allen, who is going to change, I guess, from what Manny Diaz has done in the past, or Manny Diaz did last year. So we're talking about 2 new coordinators, new pieces. Like, they're having to replace top-end talent on the offensive line, the defensive line. Like, I'm not sold on Penn State.
If 4 teams get in from the Big Ten, is Penn State one of them?
No.
They would be
Remember,
Ohio
Washington's
State,
returning 2
Oregon.
starters.
So we have to go Ohio State. We have to go Oregon.
It's a tough question, right?
It's a hard question. That is a hard question.
There's a
you're
ton
not
of
wrong.
teams that people are like the more I dig into this conference, and I think you'll see, everybody's talking about the parity in the Big 12 is like, who knows what's going to happen. But when you get below, because Michigan lost a ton, right?
I still think Michigan's in that
Washington
conversation,
lost a
but
ton. They recruit really, really well, and they're bringing these are great programs. But there's people kind of forget that Minnesota can be good when they want to be. The people forget that Nebraska's getting better and they're well coached. I know they have a young quarterback.
First Nebraska reference of the show. You'd love to see it.
People are gonna trip in some of these games.
Dude, I think after Ohio State and Oregon, there's a conversation with Michigan, Iowa,
Yep.
Thank you.
Penn State, and SC. Like those are sort of the next
passing
four
stats
for me.
And their whatever scrimmage or whatever they had the other day.
I'll put
Iowa,
Wisconsin in there too.
It was terrible. It was like,
dude, I can't buy into Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, hey Felder, Wisconsin is a fascinating story, man. Just to see what they were so bad last year on offense, and they bring in your boy TVD.
Yes.
Which I'm sorry, but like Braylon Allen is gone. They still got the Malusi guy. Yeah, I mean, look. They didn't average.
Was good last year.
Malusi was very good, but they didn't scratch 25 points per game on offense. And I'm sorry, but you bring Phil Longo up there to run this air raid thing. Wisconsin fans are like, "What's this going to look like, eh? What's it going to look like?" It didn't look great.
It was a poor Wisconsin.
I'm gonna have to do this. I'm gonna have to do this. I have to do this. I got to do this. Michigan State will suck shit. And my wife is in the next room, and I just don't need.
Is that a hot take? Is that a hot take in your house?
It's not a hot take in my house. It's a take that doesn't want to be heard in my house.
Somebody's got to finish 18th in this league. Is it Sparty?
Bro, how about that? Like someone's gonna finish 18th.
Yeah.
18th.
18th. I don't think it's Michigan State. I do think it's Northwestern, but 17th.
Northwestern, they were both team last year.
Yeah, Northwestern won 7 games last year, buddy.
So it sounds like you guys are leaning towards 5 SEC teams and 3 Big Ten teams. That's what it sounds like you guys are leaning towards.
I would feel so. I think there'll be Notre Dame, 4 SEC teams, 3 Big Ten teams.
Notre Dame is the most interesting part. And I wanted to talk about Notre Dame because
throw them in here. Why not? Let's do it.
No. Hold on. No, stop, Felder. We will do Notre Dame with the ACC conversation because if they were to join a league, they have to join the ACC. Don't be bringing this Big Ten BS to Notre Dame.
I'm absolutely not. I'm not doing that. Why would they join the Big Ten? That's insane.
They're going to marry us.
So just before we move,
put a ring on
because we have to do it, and I apologize for my stupid background and all this stuff I have. I feel kind of dumb. You guys aren't nearly as like, hey, look at me, I played football.
You played football, Wayne. What are you talking about?
No, he's just letting everyone know his background. Just
his
makes
background's awesome.
It hammers it home. Yes.
Yeah,
mine's a work in progress. There used to be a shelf here, and there was some stuff on it. There's a big trophy like right here.
But UCLA, you guys,
irrelevant.
Almost all seniors starting across the board. Every single player that's going to play as a 4th, 5th, or 6th year. Guys like KJ Wallace, Roddy, that's moved over, is going to help us with nickel. We got Ramon Henderson from Notre Dame. We filled in some holes. Brian Addison, who's a 6'5" safety that used to be a big-time player with Oregon, had some injury issues. He's going to be a senior. We're a little bit not sure on rush end, but we fixed our line is 4 seniors and a junior, and they've all played a ton. We got a quarterback who's a senior that everybody out there, if he stays healthy, he's as good. He's top 5 guy in the pack in the Big Ten. And yes, I just said that.
That's okay.
Ethan Garbers is as good of a thrower of the football as, and I'm not saying the Big Ten has a ton of really good quarterbacks. You guys can get mad at me if you want to. Wait till the games start. He can play. And so I'm not saying where they're going to finish, but I'm telling you they are not going to be an easy out. The schedule's brutal, but they're showing up with grown men.
Wayne, I am not saying this to make you mad.
Dion.
Somebody needs to tell him.
I'm not saying this to make you mad. I'm not.
Somebody needs to tell him.
UCLA is not going to a bowl game this year, Wayne.
What? That's fine. You can think of it. Trust me. I did it last night, Roddy.
I just want to. You said the schedule's brutal.
I have to convince our own fans that we're going to be better than they think we're going to be.
It's
I don't
literally
think-
the second toughest schedule in the country, man.
Yeah, it is.
What's the
Second
difference
toughest.
between
that
this
bad.
At LSU? At LSU.
Yep.
That's an L.
Oregon at Penn
Oregon's
State.
an L.
Yep.
Penn State's an L.
Yep.
Minnesota's a toss-up.
Lost.
Rutgers is a toss-up.
Loss.
Again,
But Rutgers is on the road in
Nope.
Piscataway. Oh, Lord Jesus.
This is
You
Rutgers
go
is
travel
good, man.
$700,000
is good.
miles to
This-
go to
I
New
know they are.
Jersey. Those West Coast kids are not going to know what hit them in New
my
Jersey.
God. Here we go. Those
And
West
be
Coast kids.
Well, no. I'm not talking about going down to the Southeast. I'm just talking about literally like New Jersey. They're going to be like, what is this place? This is weird.
They're going
What
to
is
play
this?
football. They'll be
Yeah.
okay. No.
Yeah.
Just, hey,
I don't disagree with
Hang
you
on.
there, Wayne, until the people in the hotel start to talk and you're like, is this the Twilight Zone? What is
Awesome.
happening to me?
can't
What,
wait.
welcome to
here's-
Jersey. Like they're like,
Hey,
whoa.
I just
Okay.
wanted
Then
to put
hold
it
on. No. Let me finish, Wayne. Nebraska, Iowa, Washington, SC. Like Wayne.
So at the event
love
last
you.
night, I told our kids they get to play. I had all the seniors in front of me. I'm up on stage doing
Yeah,
my
and
thing.
Deshaun Foster got to speak,
play
and he didn't do
at
that well.
LSU,
And
at Penn State, at Nebraska, and
Yeah,
at
wonderful.
Seattle. Up in Seattle, I go, that is phenomenal
phenomenal for who?
for everybody.
The fans.
Yes, the
Nobody's
fans.
like, yes, I get to go play
It's a
at
tough
LSU
schedule.
at night.
Okay,
That's great.
just mark my words. They will not roll over in these games. This team's going to show up and play.
It's not about rolling over. It's about getting your behind with.
Nope, they're not going to get. They're going to be in all of these.
How? But how, Wayne? Like, how can you have that level of thing? I'm serious. Well, the
really
seniors.
good.
What's Wayne?
You got
I can
skill
find you. I can find you a group of seniors that
Offensive
suck.
line's really good. Hey, I know. Hey,
You have
I'm
an
not
offense-
saying we're going to win
You
everything.
you have a head coach that does not inspire faith. So you're gonna have to convince me there. The coordinators, like
I have
you
to
got a
love the
first
guy.
time
It's
you got a
the players.
first time defensive.
I love him
coordinator.
too, Wayne. Just for the record, I do love him.
And so
too.
do the players. They
Eric
play.
Bieniemy's coming over. Well, good.
He's
I'm
doing it.
glad.
The offense is
I'm
looking
glad.
great.
I'm glad, and I'm glad they're going to start 1-0 against after playing
Hey,
Hawaii.
hey, Roddy,
But after that LSU game, when he gets up at the lectern, they're like, "Coach, what happened?" Well, we had to fly from LA, same place
Nope.
that USC flies from.
Don't do the voice. Don't do
and
the
then we
voice.
go
he had a bad moment.
you know,
he had
we're
a
here
bad
in the-
moment, Roddy.
in the
He had a
in
bad
the
moment.
Baton
Hey,
Rouge.
bowl game. We can move on now. Bowl game.
The podium speech at the Big Ten Media Days, though,
Been haunted
it does
forever.
worry you
Bad
in terms of like preparation of what it's like to be a head coach. Like come on.
Literally preparation.
that
Hey,
part would
prepare for the
concern
game.
me. That part
Prepare
would
for your
concern me.
speech.
Look,
Like,
a
you
bowl-
juxtapose that
You
between
literally roll
Dan
bed
Lanning.
to go speak in front of the media at Big Ten Media Days. That does not inspire
like,
confidence
you
that
have
you are on
Dan
top of.
Lanning over here, and then we have Deshaun Foster.
That's not a
And-
fair fight. That's not. Yeah.
Right, exactly. That's like when
It's
you're
fine.
when you're punching your little brother and your mother is like, "Hey, what's
This
happening?"
is why this is so fun. How many teams exist out there in the middling part of a conference are going to surprise? Is it going to be Nebraska? Is it going to be Rutgers? Is it going to be Minnesota?
Ooh.
Is it going to be who's going to surprise and go into November in any conference with a chance at that end of the playoffs, still playing for something?
Yeah,
Felder,
I
who's
think
your,
gonna be a
you
few.
have to answer that, but that's a good
There'll
question.
definitely be a few.
Felder?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who's your underrated team in the Big Ten, man? Like not
In the
playoff
Big Ten?
good.
I
Yeah.
ride hard. I already said them. I ride hard with Iowa.
I don't know if they're underrated. though. They're
I
really-
do not give a shit about who's their quarterback. I don't care about their
Who
weapons.
is their quarterback? Oh,
No
McNamara,
clue.
Cade McNamara.
Cade.
Maybe they're still. They haven't
Right.
announced.
Here's
They
the
haven't
thing.
announced yet.
They are a team, and Wayne and Roddy, you tell me if I'm wrong about this, but the reality for me with respect to Iowa, Wisconsin as well, they have a group of guys that do what they are told. They show up every single day. They're about 15 minutes early. They play defense. None of them think that they are better than the man that stands next to them. And they just go out and do their job. And I do think that there is value in that, because the thing that I keep telling people with respect to defense specifically, offense, there's sometimes on offense you got to be special. But on defense, all you have to do is understand your assignment and execute it. That's it. Give me some effort and understanding. Effort and understanding, and then you can still play good defense.
Roddy, give me your underrated Big Ten squad.
Roddy, give me what I said. React to that.
No, I agree with you. Like, I was really good at defense despite not having any players that anybody else in the country would take, which is that's not true. There's some other people. Like, I was very good at defense, and I think I was going to be very good if they can score some points. So I mean, that's always been the thing.
Yeah.
They are ranked,
That's
so
I
wouldn't have them as underrated, but I would say probably, I don't know. I feel like Nebraska's properly rated. Like, people aren't sleeping on Nebraska, especially if the Raiola kid ends up being worth the damn. Like, they've got a lot coming back. I like Rutgers too. Like, Rutgers is gonna be tough, man. Rutgers is gonna be tough for a lot of people. They go down to Virginia Tech week 3. Like,
sign me up.
That's a bring your big boy pants game. It feels like the don't bring the little britches. You got to bring the big britches. So
right,
I would go with
Wayne.
those two.
I
am notoriously a Big Ten hater. I do not like the Big Ten.
It's obvious. You can hear it in your voice.
Did you see the Big Ten West play, Wayne? Like, did you? I know you're out there on the Pac-12. Like,
I said it all year last year. The Pac-12 was a better conference.
Sure.
Than the Big Ten was.
No, yes, but that's not the same thing as saying the Big Ten West was abysmal football. Like, you couldn't name 3 quarterbacks from the Big Ten West that anybody else would actually have play for them. It was awful. The quarterback play's terrible. The skill position play was terrible. It was a bad league because half the conference could not score points.
Okay. Thank you. So if a certain team has pretty good offense, they might surprise people. But we'll talk about that later. We'll end up. But I will say.
A pretty good offense.
I will say we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I can't wait to talk like mid-season. We have to have another one.
But you don't play any of those teams, Wayne.
Felder, I love what you said about Iowa only because it's hard not to respect the way that team, even to add in what Roddy said, it feels like sometimes they do it like almost like the Whittingham way. Or we talked about Rutgers that way as coach.
Yes.
They do it where they win with guys that maybe were overlooked and they develop talent. Why am I forgetting the Rutgers coach's head name right now?
Schiano.
Yeah, Schiano. He's been good. I mean, talk about it. He's a guy that won at Rutgers before. Go back and look at his schedule the first time he's there. He has 10-win seasons. So, like, these people know how to develop talent. So I don't disagree with anything you guys are saying, although I will say this. If Iowa with a new coordinator and trying to do what they do on offense can't figure out a way in the modern era of football. Mm-hmm. And I know it was just a practice or a scrimmage. When you start hearing about your possible starter completing 8 of like 24 or 26, I mean, that's crappy.
Not great.
Like people
don't throw the ball that much.
In practice, you don't get it. So but their defense is awesome. And like Roddy said, there's so many bad offenses in this league. If you play good defense and you score enough, you can win a lot of games.
So we'll say I think the offenses will be better this year. I think obviously the West Coast teams help that. So yeah. Like that'll certainly help. Nebraska being good helps. Minnesota's still going to be abysmal on offense. Iowa will probably be bad. Yeah. And we'll see about like Penn State and Purdue and.
What do we think about Wisconsin?
Well,
I don't know what to think about Wisconsin.
Here's something. What my theme for the show with a lot of these squads is we don't know. But Wisconsin, man, that is fascinating stuff because Fickle knows what he's doing, knows how to build a program. Like he hit the portal a little, but man, that is just culturally that's a program that has an identity, and right now they have no identity. They got to figure it out.
Quickly, Stephen, before we move on, because Wisconsin, I have no idea. I really don't. I like Luke Fickell as a coach. I've seen him up close and personal. UCLA had to go and play Cincinnati when they were doing their thing, and they're good. But I will talk about this. Whenever you talked about Raiola at Nebraska, unless you're surrounding, and I don't know if you guys agree with this, but from a quarterback standpoint, unless you're a young quarterback with elite talent around you, where they can kind of hide you a little bit and make your reads easier and kind of simplify the offense, it is really hard. And they did that with Drew Aller last year at Penn State. Everything was kind of short and underneath, right? I know I think they brought over the coordinator from Kansas, which, they're going to go down the field more. I think when you look at some of these young quarterbacks, remember last year that we were riddled with really good quarterback play, but they were all older guys. We had a lot of guys that played really, really well, like Michael Penix and Jane Daniels and Caleb Williams, and these guys had all been in the programs for a long time. Drew Aller's going to get better, but to try to win a lot of games in these tough conferences with freshmen at quarterback is hard. It's really difficult. It's such a hard position to play.
We're going to the SEC.
Well, no, hang on. It's not that it's a hard position to play. Every position is hard.
Oh, it's easy, Felder. Anybody can do it.
I didn't say it was easy. I said every position is hard. Those are two different things, Wayne.
Sure.
What I'm saying is that you can either have experienced receivers and experienced offensive line and a young quarterback, and you can have success like that.
Yep.
Or you can have an inexperienced offensive line, an inexperienced receiving core, but an experienced quarterback, and you can still have success. That's not a wrong thing to say.
It's difficult, you guys. We've all seen really good quarterbacks be destroyed by bad people around them. I mean, we watched really good quarterbacks.
Oh, can we, Hartzell, switch the order up? Let's just do it now. Fuck it, dude.
You want to go to the Big 12?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, the Big 12, that was your homework assignment, man. I feel like this league is wide open. Unlike the other three leagues where there's a clear front runner, I don't see that in the Big 12. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. Like
what? What are we doing here?
What are we doing?
What happened to Utah, bro? Utah should be a top 10 team right now. The rest of these teams are like starting at like 17 after that. Like Utah to me is clearly the best team in this league.
You get Keithy back, you get freaking Cam Rising back. They should win this league. The
majority of the defense is back. Like
this is insane.
It is wide open after Utah, but to me it's Utah, and then that's where the conversation starts, and then we can start to argue about whether Kansas or Oklahoma State are better.
Well, do you get scared every time Oklahoma State's kind of expected to be kind of good? Makes me nervous.
No.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
No, I don't.
The reason I don't this year is because the entire offensive line back and Ollie Gordon's back.
Sure.
The thing that worries me is that Alan Bowman turned the ball over more than I do in EA Sports College Football 25, which is a lot.
Yeah.
Like I crank that difficulty up, and they catch everything for the other team. It's wild.
City, yes.
And it's always a pick six, bro. Always a pick six.
Has to be.
But Alan Bowman threw 14 picks last year, 15 touchdowns, 14 picks. So that's what concerns me. And then defensively, they weren't great.
Can you imagine if you fed your kid like candy 15 times and then 14 times you fed them poison?
No, I can't imagine that.
No. Yeah, I agree with Stephen. I can't.
That's insane. You know what they would do? They'd take you to jail.
But speaking of bad parenting, we moved this order around because you wanted to talk about Shadur. So go on. Talk about Shadur.
Well, one, we have to start with the edit. I don't know if you guys have seen this.
The darts only edit?
The darts only edit, yes.
Yeah, I saw it.
Which, by the way, shout out to everyone who made fun of it.
Shout out.
So what, we don't think Shadur's a good quarterback anymore? Is that what you're saying?
That's not what I didn't say that. I'm saying that the edit, if he's good, let him be good. But if you have to make an edit video of your star quarterback, maybe you fucked up, player.
Okay, so the social team messed up, but I mean that doesn't take anything away from Shadur as a quarterback.
I'm not taking anything away from him. He didn't ask them to edit it. I'm just saying that that's a thing that did happen. With respect to Colorado, I don't give a shit about like Travis Hunter. Is he a first-round draft pick? Yes. Shadur Sanders, is he a first-round draft pick? I think he's a day 2 pick. But the question is, how many day 1, day 2 draft picks do they have that weigh over 300 pounds? That's the question that needs to be answered. And I think it's still 0.
I could chime in here. I don't dislike Shadur Sanders. I don't really like. I think that this is kind of when you're a 4-win team. I mean, Dion is finding a way. I think they got one AP top 25 vote, believe it or not. The hype machine's still rolling, but there's more and more questions. And to your point, yeah, I've watched Travis Hunter play in person. He's legit. He's really good athlete.
He's the real deal.
He's not very big. He has moments
right.
where he can get beat by size, but he's a legit athlete.
We saw it with
play quarterback, but it feels like they're running a program that is to highlight their superstars. And I know everybody does that, but I feel like at a cost to
wait, everybody doesn't do that.
No, but I mean, we all want to get our best receiver, The Rock, but you do it within a team concept.
Right, but
you know what I mean? That's how you win. And I feel like with them, it's almost felt like let's get Shadur as much as we can. And and like you said, I don't know about you guys, but I don't see. I haven't even really thought about. I was thinking about Arizona and what they might be because I love their quarterback. I love their receiving core. I'm a big fan of Brent Brennan and what he was able to do. At San Jose State, and I think that they have a chance to be sitting there and have a chance at the end as well.
Oh, I totally agree. Go ahead, Roddy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think in this league, it's Utah, it's Kansas State, Oklahoma State, it's Arizona, and it's UCF. Like those are the 5 really legit, and then Kansas. Slightly
I was going to say, are you going to include Kansas in that? Because it feels like there's a big
Kansas. And I'll throw Iowa State in there. Like I think there's 7 really legitimate, solid teams. You're not feeling my Iowa State. They played so many young guys.
You never know with Iowa State.
Right? Yeah, that's true.
I just don't know what
a year ago.
They're like a box of chocolates, you know.
You hate that movie.
I do.
It's true.
What about Kansas? I didn't hear Kansas on that list.
I think
Roddy just said Kansas.
All right.
They were in there right before Iowa State. Like I think those are the teams they were because they're losing their offensive coordinator. Quarterback can't stay healthy. Like those are issues with me with Kansas.
Right.
But I do like the story and I think they'll be good. I also think you shouldn't sleep on West Virginia. So there's an 8th that's sort of hanging out there. A lot of people forgetting about West Virginia. They've got a non-con early that's they have to go to Pittsburgh and they play Penn State. Right. Penn State's better than them, kinda. And Pittsburgh at home, like that's rowdy. And it got weird last time with a pick 6 for Pitt to win it. So in the backyard brawl, you sort of never know. But if they can manage that and they get into conference play, they go to Oklahoma State. They've got Kansas State. They play UCF. So I don't love the schedule, but they do miss Utah. And they also have to go to Arizona. But I think Neil Brown has got it sort of figured out there. Like I think he's got a good football team.
So is this, Roddy, just to piggyback on what you just said, this goes back to us picking teams. This looks like a conference that's going to cannibalize. It's gonna
other than Utah. Like I think Utah's better than all of them.
And it's going to affect their playoff opportunities.
Yes, exactly. I think you could end up at the end of the year with Utah at like 10-2.
Yeah.
And then everybody else is like 8-4 in that second tier. And then you got a bunch of 6-6 teams. Like that's kind of how I feel the Big 12 is going to go.
So I just want to clarify real quick. All 3 of you guys think that this Colorado thing is going to crater. Like we don't think that it got better.
I think crater is maybe the wrong word. I think it's going to be underwhelming.
Okay. 4-8 last year. Yeah, 4-8 last year. They bring in like, I don't know, half 100 transfers, but no bowl game. Like you think
can we talk about that? Because I don't know where you guys stand on this, honestly, but it puts a bee in my bonnet. Like it truly like makes me
really grinds my gears.
Listen, you're making fun of me, Roddy, but yeah, like this is the time when your wife didn't put the toilet paper underneath the fucking underneath the sink, and you had to take a shit, and you got a good one out, and then all of a sudden there's none left, and you're like, God damn!
At that point, just got to jump in the shower.
Yeah,
I love primetime Felder, man. Nighttime Felder just hits different.
Like it's like this, like
hop in the shower. I'm with you, Wayne. Just like, oh man, we in this thing.
You got to. Oh, you got to.
Sometimes you just have to. Yeah.
Am I wrong?
I think this offense is going to be dangerous, man.
At this point, so let's keep going. Keep explaining.
I get that he's not recruiting high school guys, Felder. Like, I understand that.
Is it all the transfers that you're talking about?
Yeah, what do you want? It's like you want someone else to do your job for you,
right? So let me add to this, because this is what you guys have all watched me come a long way as far as like the things that don't piss me off as much as they used to.
You've changed, man.
The transfer portal is one of them. Like, if it's used correctly, I've watched young athletes get a great opportunity at a better situation for them. Sure. What I don't like is the ones that keep running from competition or keep, looking for something somewhere else. I think there's a good side to this, but it feels like what Deion's doing, a Coach Prime, it just doesn't seem like there's any way to build a program that way.
Exactly.
It is a very dangerous first 5 weeks on that schedule, man.
Have you seen the last 4 weeks?
I have.
Exactly.
I have. And look, like, I know there's a lot of lazy narrative people out there, and I get it. Like, this college football ecosystem is full of them. But if they look like crap on Thursday night, week 1, when you've got a really good FCS team in your building, then clearly that's a problem. Yeah, but then they got to go to Nebraska. You know how I feel about Nebraska, Roddy.
You love Nebraska.
At Colorado State, home to Baylor, you should handle your business. At UCF is going to be a problem. Like, you're talking about possibly opening the season 2 and 3.
Arizona, Cincinnati, Texas Tech, Utah, Kansas. They got to play Kansas. They got to play Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, Kansas, Utah, Texas Tech. What are we doing?
It's a tough way to finish.
Yeah.
And I'm not even poo-pooing on Colorado entirely.
You buy your
as
own
much.
Toilet paper.
Oh, Lord.
It's like the Will Ferrell scene in Step Brothers. He's got it. Costco.
I'm not even like going in on him as hard as I usually do. I have a tough time seeing 6 wins for this team.
Yeah,
when the road game at Nebraska, like, they got that game last year. They won. They beat Nebraska. Nebraska is significantly improved. Nebraska was better than they were in that game. If Jeff Sims hadn't turned the ball over 100 times in the first half, it's probably a different ball game. We'll see what happens at Colorado State. Like, I have a feeling that's going to be rowdy, but I'll give them it's a win there. You would think Baylor at UCF, that's tough, man. That's a long trip. That game is still in September in Orlando, and I know a lot of these guys are from Florida, like Deion's recruited them.
Yeah,
bro, it could be hurricane. It could be 150 degrees, and that place is going to be bumping.
Yeah,
and UCF's going to be really good. Like, KJ Jefferson coming downhill 20 times a game at 250.
Guys got to stay.
Gus Malzahn's offense.
How long does it take before? And I don't know if they already have it, but he's having major issues with the media. He's not talking to people, and he's kind of doing. I mean, at some point,
local CBS affiliate, he's not talking to AP.
I didn't know that.
People are going to turn on him. I mean, it's at some point in time, it's going to get ugly.
Dude, this is last year, no matter what. Like, this is last year.
Right.
At Colorado or in coaching?
Colorado.
Okay.
Unless he's coaching the Dallas Cowboys next year.
Deion, I thought someone said KJ Jefferson.
We're talking
UCF.
I
did say KJ Jefferson, and then Wayne started talking about Deion.
Yeah, Deion is like, they're tired of him.
Yeah.
Big picture, though, on the Big 12. Like, I hear you, Roddy, on Utah. There's a lot to like.
Utah's going to win that league.
Okay. Well, we saw how bad they were without Cam Rising last year.
And you know what they have?
They still won how many games?
They still won 8-5. Yeah, sure.
Wow.
But I don't think they are. They are
Colorado
not a slam
wishes
dunk.
they win 8-5.
Look, it's not the lock that we have in other leagues. That's all I'm saying.
If you look at those teams on the field, Utah's got dudes everywhere. They always have dudes everywhere. They're well trained. They work out. They develop like crazy. And
work out, Wayne.
And you see Colorado on the field. It's not even close.
I will say, the Utah thing, like you mentioned how bad they were without Cam Rising. The quarterback room there was tough. Bryson Barnes had the second highest interception percentage in the country last year in terms of number of passes thrown to number of interceptions. Cam Rising ain't gonna do that. So automatically, and they're in a league that's not as good. Like the league that they're going to is not as good as the league they were in last year. It's not.
Bingo. Yep.
And they won 8 games in that league last year. Like
Roddy,
this is a team that's a 10-win team. Like at least.
I honestly think Cincinnati, and maybe I'll put TCU in there. But who else is going to be ready to like toss paws with Utah?
Cincinnati ain't going to be ready.
It'd be BYU.
Massive
BYU.
departure
Maybe
from what
BYU.
they've
Yes,
had.
BYU, because they play all the time. But like, who's going to be ready to put the paws on?
Just a little, like, I will make this a knock on Kyle Whittingham, even though he's great. They've never really been an elite quarterback school. They've done it in other ways. I mean, I'm going to tell you, Cam Rising, I love him. He went to the high school I went to. He's a football player. He's not the best passer in the world.
Nobody wants to turn the ball over, and he'll move the ball down the field.
Tyler
But
Huntley
he's
was
a
a really good
football
quarterback
player,
for them, but
Wayne.
he didn't like set the world on fire throwing the ball. They've had a couple of good ones over the years, but for the most part, they win
Put
it.
some respect on Alex
run
Smith's
the
name.
ball, play defense.
Here's the thing, though. If you guys are joking about the swamp ass,
He's a football player.
You were
He's a
joking
football
about
player. That's exactly what he is. He's a football player.
Swamp
But
ass
Utah
Notre Dame at
Team
10-2.
full of football players. Utah has a team full of football players.
Keithy's a star when he's healthy.
Yeah, he's very good.
KD is great, but they have a team full of football players.
Right. I agree. That's what he wins with.
Like they win with football players.
They hit you in the mouth over and over and over again, and they never quit.
Look, what's the Marshawn Lynch quote? What you learn is if you hit a motherfucker over and 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 over again, they don't want it no more. And like that's what Utah does consistently. It's hard. Like they make, and we talk about it with Iowa. We talked about it a little bit with Wisconsin and Luke Fickell, but the reality to me is like if you make people not want to get up anymore, if you make people not want to engage with you anymore, and listen, Stephen knows this maybe better than any of us. Stephen goes to the pool every week. And Stephen ignores everyone constantly to the point where no one wants to talk to him.
That's correct.
And this is the same thing, and that's what Utah does, except they make it hurt your body.
I will say their style of football is less rare in this conference than it was in their prior conference. The Big 12 had 8,000-yard rushers last year. Like it is a it is trying to be a line of scrimmage, run the football league. Like the Big 12 has evolved faster than everybody. Like it has swung back as everyone has taken all of the space players and the quarterbacks because the Big 12 started it. The Big 12 has said, okay, we're going to get big and we're going to run the football. And so I think that
how many Big
I don't know
12
who that plays
linebackers,
into.
with the exception of Texas, how many Big 12 defensive linemen and linebackers got picked?
If you give me a second, I can look up the actual number. I don't know off the top of my head, but I can look up the number.
Those guys liked running the ball because everyone was so worried about passing.
I mean, maybe, but all the defenses got small. Like they all went to 3-3-5.
They all got small.
copied
Yeah,
Iowa
that's what I'm
State.
saying. I'm agreeing.
And so, like numbers wise, you're like, okay, well, what do? We can't throw the ball at the 3-3-5.
I will add this in before we move on. I've watched Utah up close and personal for the last several years. Last year's version of Utah, in my opinion, was the worst in a while. And I know a huge part of it was the quarterback position, but they weren't as good in other places either. So they're going to have to bounce back and be better this year. I still think they're the favorite. I am picked as the favorite, but that was the worst. They didn't have, in my opinion, as many guys. They didn't dominate up front as well as they normally do. And so, like, Cam Rising obviously helps a ton, but they do have to fix some other things. I'm not saying they're not going to, because that's what Whittingham does. He will fix the stuff they need to fix.
Right.
Speaking of fix, there is no fix for this, but I think if you're 10-2 and you're in the Big 12 in the first week of December, you're sweating it. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
if you
enough.
win the conference, you're an automatic.
Yeah, win the conference, you're automatic.
You're automatically
Yeah,
in.
sure. If I'm talking about the at-large part, right? We got a 12-team CFP. We got 7
So
at-large
who's
spots.
ahead of them at 10-2?
I think you have 2 strong brands in the ACC, even though the ACC is.
Well, I
One
think
of
if
them
you're
has
if
to
you're a
go.
Big 12 team though, and you're 10-2, you're playing in the championship game. Like I don't see a Big 12
Right.
team.
Call.
I don't see a Big 12 team having 2 losses and not being in the championship game because I don't think anybody goes undefeated, even Utah. And I think you could have 2 1-loss teams, but then you've got like 3 10-2 teams, and the league is better than we expected.
But you're going to have scenarios in other leagues like the SEC, Big Ten, maybe ACC, where the loser of the championship game is still going to go.
Correct.
Well,
like the
that's
loser
where
of the SEC championship gets in. The loser of the Big Ten championship probably gets in.
Right.
The
Right,
loser
so
of the ACC will see.
I think the narrative that's being established right now, along with preseason rankings and what everybody says, is that a 9-3 SEC team
Right.
from a better conference is going to maybe bump a number 2 team that's 10-2, and that's the part where it gets tricky. I mean, we saw it happen with a 4-team playoff last year, where an undefeated team got left off. Now you're going to see the power conferences fighting with their 3-loss team to take out another team that maybe only has 2 losses in one of the weaker conferences. And so that'll be fun to watch as we get towards the end.
I do think, like, as a fan, as a viewer, as a consumer, I think the Big 12 is the most entertaining league. Just from there's like you listed 7, 8 teams, Roddy.
Yeah.
Going all the way down to like Kansas and Iowa State, who are dangerous, right? Kind of feels like the old school Pac-12, Wayne, a little bit. Just
well,
saying.
it's someone just said this the other day on one of the shows I was listening to. It's like there was a time where top-heavy leagues benefited you. If you had 2, 3 teams that were always in the mix and always there and always having a chance, even if you don't win the conference championship, even in a 14 playoff. But now we have, and the Pac-12 did it for years. They had a couple of eras where people were like SC dominated or Oregon or whatever. But when you have parity, it's like the Big 12 does it. It makes it hard because, like we talked about earlier, every week you're playing someone that can beat you. And
you mean like the ACC?
Games.
You want to go to the ACC? We can go to the ACC. Let's go to the ACC.
Yeah.
Let's go to the ACC. Roddy, Felder, and I were all hanging out in Charlotte. It was a beautiful scene. 4 days, Roddy. How did that treat you on the XM set, man? That is a marathon.
It was a long time. It was a long time.
Were you sipping green tea and honey? Like, were you pacing yourself?
You had to. I mean, look, you can't. The thing is, you can't just unload everything you got on Tuesday because you gotta make it till Thursday. And we had Dabo last. Last one of the week was Dabo.
Jeez.
I mean, talk about having to bring it. BYOG. You got to bring it with Dabo.
Guts.
You got to bring it with him. You can't be slacking. He'll call you out on it. Cade Klubnik looking good in that plaid suit.
Look very good.
Another example of a quarterback that I think is going to take a step because he's played a lot of football now. I think we underestimate the value of that. And I don't know about you guys, but it feels like we, for whatever reason, over the last few years have just kind of fell asleep on Clemson.
They let us. They let us.
I know they did. It's a little bit on them.
It's
true. It's a little bit on them. And Dabo has found a way to become kind of almost feels like he's the odd guy sometimes.
He is.
When before it was kind of cool to hear him, and now everybody's going, "Come on, dude! Like slow down," because he's a little off the beaten path. But I have a feeling that Klubnik's going to be a lot better this year, and it'll be interesting to see. But Clemson is still a brand in my name.
Wayne, I could not agree with you more on Cade Klubnik. Like I think that Clemson's my pick to win the league. I think they go
Same.
like I think they win it. Because you look at this team, and I've been talking to Clemson people, not leading them in any way, just like asking, like, last year's Clemson team was the worst Clemson team since when? Most of the answer I get most often is 2014, the year Deshaun Watson was a freshman. He got hurt. Cole Stout ends up being the quarterback.
Jackets.
That was not. Yeah. He got hurt against the Jackets.
But the reality is, it's the worst
Georgia
team
Tech
since
starts to go.
what?
Well,
07, 09?
No, probably 10. The 10 team was 6-6. So it's either 2014 or 2010. like the worst Clemson team that we had seen. And still, they lose to Duke in their worst loss of the year, 28-7, when they turned the ball over multiple times inside the red zone. I believe it was 2 turnovers inside the 5-yard line against the Duke Blue Devils. Yeah, shout out to Phil Steele.
What page you on?
This is page 123.
They buried the ACC, man. You got to get deep in that mag to get this.
That's your boy. And so head of the Big 12.
That's your boy, yeah. That's your boy, Steven.
It took a miss. Okay, here's what the 13-0 Florida State, who's the pick to win the league. 13-0 Florida State last year. They needed a sack, fumble, touchdown with Clemson up 7 and driving to send that game to overtime where they then won it. So they needed overtime and like a little bit of angels in the outfield type like bounce from a guy who was blitzing basically from the sideline because he didn't know the calls. He was like, you know what?
Joseph Gordon let it.
I'm just going to run. Knocks him out, goes to overtime, where Cade makes a bad decision in overtime to end that thing.
Yes.
Miami needed 2 overtimes to beat Clemson. Obviously, Miami not great, but that was on the road. NC State needed a pick 6 to beat them by 7. Like, the things, Clemson has lost their margin for error, but they had all the bad things go wrong for them last year. Turnovers, like that stuff typically swings back your way. Poor quarterback play at times, poor quarterback play. Because towards the end of the year, he started to get it. Bad situational football in the Miami game and the Florida State game in particular. That stuff improves with experience. Like dumb freshman mistakes aren't dumb senior mistakes. You know why we don't say dumb senior mistakes? Because seniors generally don't make the dumb mistakes. Freshmen do. Now, I know Cade was a sophomore, but he's a first-time starter.
Yeah.
He had 3 offensive coordinators his last 3 years. He had his high school offensive coordinator, he had Brandon Streeter, and he had Garrett Riley. Now he's got Garrett Riley again. And when you're in a new offense, your first year starting, there's going to be some lumps. So, yeah, I think Cade Klubnik does this little thing called develop, and he's a lot better. Not to mention the fact that they go and they get Matt Luke at offensive line coach. They're paying him $1 million. That offensive line better be better. They're better at receiver around him. Like Clemson to me is the clear pick to win the league. NFL talent on defense at all 3 levels. Like I think
you think all 3 levels?
Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
What level is there not?
Quick question on Clemson. Roddy. What about
Peter
that
Woods
week
is an
1 game?
NFL player. TJ Parker's an NFL player. DeMonte Capehart's an NFL player.
I like them, but
all 4 of their starting defensive linemen are going to play in the NFL.
What if Georgia does really bad things to them week 1? Does that change your?
Georgia, I don't think Georgia will do really bad.
No, I don't want to get off of this. I think Capehart is a very quality college football player.
He's going to play in the NFL.
Who will? Yes, he'll play in the NFL. Sure. TJ Parker, this is not the same though as like Grady Jarrett and
I didn't say it was.
Wilkins.
But Grady Jarrett, hold on. Grady Jarrett was like a 4th or 5th round pick. Let's not act like let's not revisionist history this.
I'm not revisionist.
Wilkins.
No, you know what? I'm looking this up right now because I want to see what I said about Grady Jarrett because this is like when someone told me I was revisionist history.
But you can't be like, well, they don't have a Grady Jarrett. I think they do. I think they have a 4th round pick on that line. 5th round pick. What was Grady Jarrett?
Looking that up, Roddy. I think most of us have Georgia winning that game, but you think that's going to be a dogfight.
I don't look, Georgia could win it by 14, but I don't think it's going to be like a 28-point blowout. I don't think Georgia's going to break Clemson. Like Clemson
I'm actually with you on that.
Like Clemson's a really good football team. Yep. And like, is it a 7-point game in the 4th quarter where Georgia scores late? Clemson's not able to get back into it. Maybe. Is it a game where Georgia jumps out by 14 and holds it there? Maybe. But right. I don't think Georgia's going to break Clemson in any like Alabama used to break teams.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I actually think that's going to be an awesome game, an awesome early game. It's kind of a bummer.
2 touchdown point spread if you're into that sort of thing. 2 touchdowns.
That's fine. I love what you said, Roddy, about Klubnik, and I love that people don't talk about it enough. Having the same coordinator 2 years in a row, better people around you, and developing.
Well, Wayne, tell people what that means. Like because I never played offense, so you and Roddy talk about what that means. Like,
so let's just because Roddy, I mean, I'll jump in here real quick because, like as a quarterback, like I've said this forever, like when you have quarterbacks that know the system so well. that their coordinators are giving them the whole field. A lot of times with young quarterbacks, they'll limit what your reads are and they'll limit your responsibilities, and it really takes away from what you can do on an offense. When you can run a system completely, when you have running backs and linemen and receivers that are all on the same page and feel extremely comfortable in an offense, everything's all the anticipation, everything is happening fast. And you don't have a lot of, you can just do everything in your playbook. I mean, and so for me, for a quarterback, I almost always associate it with, if they really feel comfortable in the system that they're running, they're processing everything faster. They're getting the ball out faster. And you know this as a defensive player, Felder, is that when the ball gets out quick, and you the ball's already there by the time you get your head around to find it, it's really frustrating.
Problem.
It's like what Joe Burrow was able to do a few years back with that offense. The ball was out. And so I'm hoping towards that next step of I struggle with the quarterbacks that kind of sit and wait for things to develop. I like the quarterbacks that throw people open and throw the ball on time. And so I think that's the step he needs to take. And if he does, they're going to get a lot better.
I also,
just for the record, 2014, I love Grady Jarrett. Just 2014.
Yeah,
he was a fifth-round pick.
That's
so
a decade ago.
I understand what you're saying, but he was a fifth-round pick. Like, they've got a fifth-round pick on this line somewhere.
I'm sure they probably do. I just think that we've also watched them kind of crawl up with those things, right? We saw them to the Christian Wilkins level, to the Lawrence level, all that. I just want to see more out of that. And I will say this, and this is, I don't know what you call it, but Cade Klubnik, such a nice guy. He did send this shout out to my neighbors who are both Clemson grads. And he just gave them a shout out. So I'm rooting for the guy. I'm rooting for this entire team.
He won you over, Felder. You were.
I do want to hear what Roddy was going to say, though. I'm curious because I know you were going to add, because this is your guy.
Roddy is coming for my head. I know Roddy's going to.
I
don't remember what I was going to say.
No, because I want you to add in, like, when we talk about experience and being in a system. So I thought that was really smart.
The thing that I think will happen with Cade Klubnik, like, we just expect all of these guys to sort of get it, like, and all of the components to playing quarterback to come together at the same time. Wayne knows this 1,000 times more than I do, but like at quarterback, there is learning the offense. Okay.
Yes.
I know the offense, which means when we call this play, I know what everybody runs. There's understanding the offense. I call this play, I know what everybody runs, and then I know what our answers are against that defense, whatever the defense does. That's understanding. Then there's like the why. Why are we running this play? What are we trying to set up? And you're not having to ask it, hey, we've got 4 verts on this play to set up this. Okay, cool. There's that. And then there's the situational awareness thing that, like, comes at some point. And we don't always get that. And those things don't always marry. And so, like, what I saw with Cade last year was a guy who knew the offense, started to understand the offense, and now in the offseason, it's about the why and the situations. Like, it's one thing to know the offense. In the end of that Florida State game in overtime, he knows that it's an RPO, and he has the option to throw it out to the receiver on whatever 3rd or 4th down in overtime. He knows he has that. Yep. And so he makes the read. He makes the right read and does it. Situationally, it's the wrong play. Dude, hand the ball off. Hand the ball off. In the Miami game, I know that this is zone read, and I know I can pull it because I know the offense. That's what the offense says that I can do on this. Situationally, you know that you should know that you can't outrun Ruben Bain. So that is the wrong thing to make. And with experience, you get those things. That's where I think the growth comes with Cade.
I agree. And I'm going to add this too real quick. Like, remember years ago when Graham Mertz burst onto the scene and threw 5 touchdowns, and then he kind of, everybody thought he was going to be the Heisman Trophy winner, and then he fell apart. Well, pay attention to what he did last year, right?
He was good.
That has become a very good player.
20-3 ratio.
He has to be really good this year. And so it's an example of quarterbacks developing and growing over their careers.
All right, let me ask you about quarterbacks, because, Roddy, you are very high on Miami. Okay? How high? And clearly you trust Cam Ward to not be a turnover machine, which he has been at Washington State. So go on.
Cam Ward did turn the ball over a little bit last
year.
year.
A lot. Yeah, a lot.
He also threw the ball a lot. So let's put it in perspective a little bit. I'll look up the percentage, the interception percentage in just a second. The reason I was on a Miami podcast and was asked, like, how much of you buying into Miami has to do with Cam Ward? And the answer is less than 50%.
Okay.
The majority of why I buy Miami is because of the offensive, defensive lines, the offensive skill, and the running backs. That's the majority of why I buy into Miami. Cam Ward's a cherry on top, and I think he can be a difference maker, but he's not going to be asked to play as much hero ball as he did last year. So yeah, I like Miami. I think their offensive and defensive line should each be top probably 3 in the league. And then you look at the running backs with Damian Martinez and Mark Fletcher. I'm not sure there's a better running back combination in the league, but I think when you look overall at this team, the defensive backfield's a big question, but they are really solid everywhere else. And Cam Ward, how many interceptions did he throw last year? Let me look that up. But he was 107th in the country in interception percentage. So percentage of passes that he threw that were intercepted, he was one of the better ones. Like if you were to that's worst to best. Like right. Best in the country was Drew Aller, Jordan Travis, Bo Nix, Shedeur Sanders. Worst in the country was Trexler Ivy of Charlotte. Like Cam Ward was in the top 20 if you rank it best to worst. He was in the top 20 in interception percentage. So yeah, he turned the ball over, but he also was asked to throw it a ton last season.
So Roddy, let's stay here because Miami is one of those teams that we hear about all the time. Is like, it's almost like everybody wants them to be better. And I'm just curious what you think because Mario Cristobal, when he was at Oregon, I didn't trust him as a head coach. I don't think he managed games well. I just don't think they ever lived up to expectations. I'm curious because coaches are like quarterbacks. They can learn and grow, and if they get the right coordinators underneath them, if they bring in the right quarterback, and if he can have Cam Ward, like look at what we have. You talked about you like them up front. Well, when you have a team that's really good up front, not turning the ball over is a huge key to the difference between winning 8 games and winning 10 and going to the playoffs. So I'm curious what your Mario take is at this point.
I don't trust him. I do want to set the record a little bit straight on Cam Ward. He only threw 7 picks last year. So
it's not the picks, it's the fumbles. You know how many fumbles this guy has in his career?
I'm looking. I do not. Do you know?
46.
It's a lot of fumbles.
He had 19 fumbles at Washington State in 2 seasons.
Like
I'm just saying, when September for Washington State was amazing. They were 4-0. They were ranked. They're in the top 10. But dude, this guy, if he hangs on to the football, Roddy, he's a fantastic player. But man, this guy is a turnover machine.
Mario he's gonna mess something up at some point. Like it's just who he is. it's like I don't trust that. Like it's not even the knee at the end of the game. It's the number of times over the course of the last season where he goes in the halftime with 3 timeouts. Like it's just like what are we doing?
Thank you. I'm glad you noticed because we noticed that when he was at Oregon. Yeah. I mean, it's like, dude, what are you doing, Mario?
The Cam Ward thing is I do think, however, the Cam Ward thing the hype train has gotten ahead of where he is. He is talented and he has been good, but it's not like they're getting a finished product Heisman Trophy. Like they're not getting Caleb Williams.
Thank you. He's
very good. But the train has gotten ahead a little bit, and I think it's taken the focus off why Miami's going to be good this year.
Hang on, real quick. You got Miami 2 or 3 in the
ACC?
2.
Numero dos.
Okay.
For my Cuban people down there in Miami.
What about UNC? Because you're high on the heels as well. I heard you tell somebody that they might start 8-0.
They could. They very well could start 8-0. I like Carolina. I am not like. I had Carolina, I think, 5th or 6th, so it's not like I'm picking Carolina to win the league. Everyone thinks Carolina would be bad, and when everyone thinks they'll be bad, they're very good. They have to figure out offensive line and quarterback, but everywhere else they're set.
That kind of matters. Hey, let's go back because you mentioned Cam Ward, and I agree with you that I think the hype is a little bit ahead of what he actually is. I think he's solid. How about Florida State and DJ? Like, here's a guy that's been okay at best in his career, right? It hasn't really lived up to the hype of what, and he's, seems like he's been all over the place, kind of like Cam Ward. I like the way that team's coached. I know that they've lost stuff, but can DJ do enough for them to fight for that second or third spot?
You watched more Oregon State than I did last year. I made a point to watch a lot of it, but you watched more than I did.
Yeah.
If I tell you that he's going to an offense where they're not going to protect him as much, not from like a protection standpoint, but like a safety standpoint, running the ball, hard play action, shots down the field. They're not going to be as good at running back as they were last year, or as what he had at Oregon State.
Yeah.
They're not as good at receiver as they were last year. Probably better than what he had at Oregon State, although those guys are unproven. Like, do you think, based on what you saw last year, that DJ can get them to the playoffs?
I think he's average. I think he has to have really good people around him. He seems slow to me. He's not like he did a pretty good job of being assertive in that offense with the way he ran the ball. He had an elite running back. So here's what I will say to you, and we'll just leave it at this: if Aiden Childs and DJ are going for the starting job this year, I'm not 100% that if Jonathan Smith was still there, that Aiden Childs wouldn't be the starter.
Why wouldn't Jonathan Smith throw the absolute bag at DJ if he wanted DJ that bad? He was like, no, we'll take Aiden Childs.
Aiden Childs is legit. I mean,
it might be more long term, but like,
it might be. And I know Michigan State's going to struggle this year, but they have a quarterback.
Hey, I'm curious, Felder. You were at ACC Media Days. You talked to everybody.
You didn't talk to DJ because he didn't come. He wanted to keep the focus.
Because he wanted to keep the focus on the team that won the ACC championship, and good on him.
The lineman.
What kind of vibes did you get, man? Give me a team that's
there's
underrated.
Nobody left from the team that went to the ACC championship and won it.
Give me a vibes program, Felder. Give me somebody you talk to in Charlotte that you're like, you know what? They're not going to make it to the ACC championship game, but they're going to be better than people think. And you are muted, so you're going to have to unmute yourself. Primetime Felder. I can't hear you, big dog.
Yeah, they're both muted now. Now we got Roddy and Felder.
I muted so I could chew.
He's back.
I didn't mute myself. Steven.
You're back, big dog. Come on. You're good. What's up?
This is Steven fishing.
No, I'm not fishing. I couldn't hear you. I want an under the radar ACC program because Roddy's talked about the
Tech.
Here we go. And why?
This is Steven fishing.
And why?
I mean, I'm gonna tell you what. That Kyron Drone, he will stuff your whole body in a locker. He is yoked up.
He's a large human.
I had to explain what yoke meant to my kid. And she was like,
How did that go? How do you explain yoked up to a 5-year-old?
6. She's 6.
6-year-old.
I was like, you know how you're like swole or like hub? And she was like, I don't even know what those words mean. And I was like, he's yoked, like mad yoked. And she was like, I was like, imagine if you had like muscles on top of muscles. He has that.
Yeah,
and then
like one of your teammates on steroids. Yeah, gotcha.
He could just take you and put you inside of the closet, and like there's nothing you could do about it. But Jones is awesome. Brent Pry was awesome. He had those little kid boots on.
Midnight Rider.
Yeah. Ain't gonna let them stop him. No, ain't gonna let them stop the Midnight Rider.
I didn't think we'd get an Allman Brothers reference on the show, but we did. That makes me very happy.
It's an upset. It's an upset that Felder's the one that sang it too.
I agree. Roddy, you buy Virginia Tech?
No, sir.
Why?
I think they'll be good. You look at the back half of that schedule.
What's good mean to you?
7-5, 8-4.
Come on.
Nah, bro. Nah, I don't see it. You look over the back half of that schedule.
Hang on.
Yeah,
hang on. Let's play the game. Where are the losses? I'll give you at Miami.
Hold on. Stop. Hold on. Just pause. Just pause for a second, Stephen. Then we'll play that game. I promise you we will. Let's look at last season when this team got good and everybody started really feeling them. They beat Pittsburgh, who won 4 games last year.
Okay.
Wake Forest, who won 4 games last year. Syracuse, who didn't have a quarterback. Dan Villari was playing quarterback. He's a tight end. Couldn't throw the ball at all. They got their ass kicked by Louisville, who was a good team last year.
Yes.
They beat Boston College, who won 6 games on the road. Okay, fair, very fair win there. They lost to NC State, another good team, and they beat Virginia, who had 3 wins last year. Like, this team beat up on, and then they did beat Tulane in the Military Bowl in a rain game where half Tulane's team was gone and they didn't want to be there. So I understand why Virginia Tech will be better, but this isn't a 10-win team. Let's play the losses game. Open up at Vandy, Marshall, at Old Dominion, Rutgers. We already talked about that.
Tricky.
Buckle your chin strap. Tricky. We'll put it as a toss-up. Miami's a loss at Stanford.
They get them in Blacksburg.
Hang on, Miami's on a Friday night. That place is gonna be half empty, dude. I'm just saying.
So
cross country to Stanford.
Win.
But then Georgia Tech, toss up. Syracuse on the road, toss up. That place will be packed if they're any good early in the season. Clemson's a loss. At Duke and Virginia probably wins. So I've got I think you're looking at 8. If you split the toss ups, you're looking at 8.
I think 8's the floor, Roddy.
No, 8's not the floor.
Well, the ceiling is the floor.
No, it's
the ceiling is the roof.
The floor is they lay an egg someplace where they last year, or they lay an egg someplace where they shouldn't. They go to Stanford and they lose. That's the floor. This program has not. They went on the road and lost to Marshall last year. Marshall was not good by the end of the season.
They were very bad.
So, let's not act like this program has it all figured out.
They had Grant Wells playing in the Marshall game.
They did not have Grant Wells playing in the Marshall game.
No, they didn't. They had Drone.
Kyron Drones played the entire game.
Is that right?
I had the Marshall game.
I made a mistake. It happens. All right, so who sneaks up?
Philosophical question, because we're not doing enough of that yet.
Go ahead.
When we go through and we start looking at teams and where they might finish, one of the things that drives me nuts is how much schedule.
This is a Stephen Hartzell thing.
It just drives me nuts because, in my opinion, we could have a 10-2 team that's not as good as an 8-4 team.
100%.
We did it the way we've always done it. If we're going to do the eye test and all the stuff we've always done in these playoff committees, you'd be like, that 8-4 team played 6 more teams and 4 of them were ranked, and that other team played 1 ranked team all year. And it's we do this every year. We go through this whole thing where we start looking at, well, I like this team, and then we follow it with because they've got an easier schedule, and that just drives me freaking nuts. I hate it.
That's Steve. Hey man, talk to Steven.
I don't make the schedules, but schedules do matter. That's all I'm saying.
So I think Louisville's coming back down to earth this year because their schedule is so much tougher than it was last year. That was a 10-win team. That was not a 10-win team.
Exactly.
Except they won 10 games.
Right, but and I don't take anything away from them, but they're not winning 10 games with this schedule. It's just not going to happen.
Give me another Raider.
You have to play the schedule, and parity is impossible. But as far as everybody having an equal schedule, that's impossible. But let's be honest. Some schools out there are playing a lot more than others.
Roddy, who sneaks up on people in the ACC? Nobody's talking about SMU. Nobody's really talking about NC State.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about NC State.
NC State, I think is. When I had to do a show,
they're in the top 25.
That's a team that everyone should.
NC State's going to be very good. They're going to be good.
Very good. 8-4, 9-3.
I think NC State could be a 10-win team, but you can't say that because of history. But I think NC State could be a 10-win.
They never get.
They also have you talk about schedule. They have a favorable schedule in conference. They go to Clemson, then they get Wake, Syracuse, at Cal, Stanford, Duke, at Georgia Tech, North Carolina. Very manageable, and they are better than all of those teams on paper.
Yeah, I don't think UNC is going to be very good this year.
I think UNC will be. They'll be very good.
What does Grayson McCall look like in a Wolfpack jersey, though, man?
I'm going to tell you what he looks like in a Wolfpack suit.
He's good.
Okay.
Here's the thing, Steven. It'll be better. It'll be better than the quarterback play that the 9-win team from last year got.
Okay.
Yep.
Which makes you believe in them more, right?
100%.
Grayson
defense won't be quite as good, but
he's a football player, you guys. He's another one of those quarterbacks that's a football player.
And dude, when's the last time Tim Beck had great quarterback play? certainly did it at NC State. It was fine.
Devin Leary was
but it wasn't
fine.
great.
He was fine.
He was fine.
Yeah. Some of that was injury. Like Devin Leary was fine.
Look, man, I know you know this, Roddy, but week 0 in Dublin, man, high noon. Like, let's go.
Stop talking about it.
You just want to talk about Georgia Tech.
Stop talking about it.
I think there's a lot to like there.
Stop talking about it, Stephen.
Okay, I'll stop talking about it. Let's talk about the
about
one league that we haven't talked about in the Power Four.
There's too many people pumping up Georgia Tech in that game. I don't like it.
Okay, fine.
We are pumping the brakes.
We will pump the brakes.
Just let them fly under the radar. Get their 5-star commits.
Let them
destroy my squad.
I mean, they just signed the highest-rated high school recruit since some dude named Calvin.
I think Georgia Tech's going to be solid. I don't know what.
As do I. But there's too many people that think it now.
Well, it's like the Rutgers stuff, right? Everybody's pumping up Rutgers so much. It's almost like they're being set up for a fall.
Correct.
All right, let's talk.
I got to tell you, Wayne, like they look very good.
Yes, they do.
They look like Georgia Tech, the body types.
Yeah.
They're fast.
Yes.
They're really fast on the offensive side of the ball. I love their scheme.
Nice to you right now because I tried to tell you the same thing about my squad and you just crapped all over me.
It's not the same.
Oh, we're not going to go there again because I can't take it.
You can poo-poo on my squad. It's fine. You can poo-poo on my squad.
I'm not going to because
Haynes King can't turn the ball over. He had the third most turnovers of anybody in the country last year.
When you, Roddy, and with Felder and even Stephen, when we watch the teams that we follow, when we watch the teams in our regions or our leagues and we know them really, really well, we actually see up close and personal the players that you have compared to what the national media sees. Sometimes they don't pay attention or they just regurgitate what other people say. Like we literally go to these games and see these teams play and we see players that other people aren't talking about. Like, dude, I'll just use a player from UCLA as an example. That guy, Jay Toia, is a really good defensive tackle that plays for UCLA. He's a Big Ten caliber guy that can handle those offensive lines. And maybe he's not on the national radar, but he's a really, really good player. And I know that
12 caliber though. That's what I really want to know.
Well, yeah, okay, well said. I know you don't like the Big Ten, but anyway. But my point is at Georgia Tech, you know who they have, and it scares you, correct? Because you have high expectations, but you know a couple of injuries in the wrong positions could derail it.
Yeah, if they get hurt at running back or receiver, then they're going to have some issues probably. They also don't have the depth at edge rusher.
We have that problem as well.
But their front line guys are guys that have to prove it, but they look good. Like they look physically better than the guys that they have.
Support your team, Roddy, and I'm going to tell you good luck this year because that's the kind of guy I am.
Wayne, God,
what a guy.
I just want you to.
Why
don't you say we're going to lose to Georgia by 400? I just poo-pooed all over Deshaun Foster and UCLA, and now you're being super nice about Georgia Tech.
Kalen DeBoer was the hire of the offseason.
Let's go to the SEC. Let's do that now. It's criminal that we buried
we haven't
this.
even talked about them.
Nobody talks about the SEC.
It's criminal that we buried the SEC 80 minutes into the show.
Well, that makes people listen longer.
I think this is the most top-heavy league in America. I don't think it's close. I see.
How big's the top though?
Yeah, that's what I think.
There's there are tiers at the top. There's the Georgia tier, which is a tier unto its own. Okay. There's the Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss tier, and I'm going to put it in that order.
Are you not concerned about Georgia's offensive skill?
I'm concerned about Georgia's schedule. I don't think it's easy by any stretch.
No, that's not what he asked you. He didn't ask you about their offensive schedule.
Yeah, I'm concerned I'm concerned that their top wide receiver got kicked off the team. Yeah, I'm concerned about that.
I mean, and should have gotten kicked off the team. Like that is Georgia low key is kind of slinking back towards like the bad Mark Richt days with removing violations, domestic abuse. Like this is worse than what Mark Richt
having done talk radio in Athens for 5 years before I moved here to the lovely state of North Carolina. You're hitting refresh on the ACC PD every morning just to check and see. Yeah. I used to do that.
Clark County Police.
That's correct. I used to do that every morning at 5:30 in the morning before our show.
Here's the thing.
You guys just brought up Georgia.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Texas.
Why didn't you put Mizzou in there?
I don't have Mizzou in the top tier, man. I got them 5.
It's another one of those teams that we were just talking about, Roddy, right? It's another one of those teams that they're being hyped up so much They got the quarterback. They got the team. They're coming off a great season. They're going to be in the playoffs. Feels like they're going to trip.
Missouri has the best schedule in the SEC by a significant margin. Okay, that's why they're in the discussion. Yes,
that doesn't necessarily mean they repeat it from last year. They have to go to Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M is going to be very good. They have to go to Tuscaloosa. They get Oklahoma at home. Like those are 3 games that right there. Like that could be a 9-3 team right there. I think they lose all 3 of those games, or have the potential to. Auburn at home. Auburn will be better. The other ones going to Mississippi State, going to South Carolina. Who knows what Arkansas is going to be? So yeah, I think they're probably 8-4 is the floor, but
they're going to lose to Texas A&M.
Yeah, I think Texas A&M is going to be good.
I got Notre Dame losing to Texas A&M.
Finally solved the problem of their coach.
Yeah, week 1 at Kyle Field. I got the Irish starting 0-1.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
And they don't have a mulligan.
What's Notre Dame do without Audric Estime? I don't know, but I don't like it.
I don't know if I ever trust Notre Dame, to be honest with you. I feel like they're a team that
their schedule is Charmin, though.
I know.
Like
it seems like that's why they love being an independent. It sounds like SC wants to get off their schedule.
Felder, nobody's picking A&M to win 10 games, man. But Mike Elko's a very good football coach. Like you have to wrap your head around this.
Is that why you're furrowing your brow? You don't like A&M?
I just don't they're going to be good at what?
Defensive line will be very good. Maybe the top 5 in this league. The offensive line should also be very good. That was an offensive line last year that was very athletic, very poorly coached.
And then they're going to throw the ball
young and weak. Well, they've got I believe that Texas A&M. I believe that Texas A&M will be able to.
Bing bang.
Oh, sorry. That's fun.
I think they'll be able to find a receiver. I think they'll be fine there.
So
Muhammad back? Noah Thomas is back.
Yes,
like those guys are elite, man.
Wegman's got to stay healthy. They lost a running back.
Everybody's got to stay healthy. Ruben Owens is hurt.
That doesn't help. But A&M's not going to be like 5-7 anymore, man. Like they're okay.
A&M's much better coach than they had before.
A&M's a sleeper, bro.
Overhyped, overpaid coach like ever.
Sleeper.
Wayne,
we got in that way.
No, you guys, like, oh no, I couldn't stand him. I'm glad he's gone. I don't want him to be making football ever again. I don't even want to look at him on the sidelines.
It was a tough interview for your boy, man. I'm gonna be honest. Damn. It was really hard to talk.
We're gonna do it.
It was not easy for your boy.
Hey,
Wayne,
man, you want to put some peanuts? You want to put some peanuts in your Coke?
Look, I want to put Wayne on the stage here. He brought up Kalen DeBoer. You said it was the hire of the offseason. So go on. Talk
Steven,
about it.
It's funny to me. It's funny to me that, and again, I'm interested to see, because I've watched him coach Jake Haener. I watched him coach Michael Penix. I do not think he has that type of throwing quarterback at this point. I trust that he will develop, but Kalen DeBoer has done nothing but win everywhere he's been.
Yeah,
they lose the greatest coach
quarterback. I love coaches that have that.
Yeah,
he's
gone into places that you don't always win, and he's won there. He's been really, really good.
Yeah.
What I really
now
like
he goes into Tuscaloosa, you guys, and it feels like we're not really talking about Alabama. And I'm like, I can't imagine the cupboards bare with talent. And he is a great coach, not just a good coach. I think he's a great coach.
I did a show this week, and it was Contenders and Pretenders for Bleacher Report. And I had Alabama in the contenders realm. And I said, I love the fact that this Alabama staff, that this Alabama administration decided, hey, we are not going to try to recreate the Nick Saban era. We're going to do something different. We're going to go in a different direction. And I think DeBoer is a breath of fresh air that breathes life into this program. And for the kids that don't want to be there, and I understand all these kids wanted to play for Nick Saban, but at the end of the day, no. Come play for me. And I'm going to get you to where you want to be. It's just it's not going to look the way that it looked with Nick Saban. But we're still going to get there. So I agree with you. I fully agree. Where'd Steven go? Bathroom.
He had to go get another
Probably.
glass of wine, I think. He's
Probably.
freaking been tipping him.
I think Alabama too. Like I think they will be good. They will be very good. They will be a contender. They will be in the hunt for it.
I just
my
can't,
questions
I can't
more
get
come,
on board with A&M, man.
Well, my questions come more with Alabama based on who's going to catch passes for them. They're super banged up at running back right now.
Yep.
And then the development of Jalen Milroe. Like, what does that offense look like? That's where my questions from Alabama come in. The A&M thing, dude, I can understand you not getting on board with A&M. But the only thing that kept A&M from being good was the fact that they were an abject disaster off the field. Like that offense was an amalgamation. It was like one of the toys from Toy Story in Buzz's room with all these different parts put together, like just ugly. That's not going to be the case with Colin Klein. He was phenomenal at Kansas State. And the question is, how much does he use the quarterback run game in it? I don't know. But Mike Elko and Jay Bateman will get that defense right. They'll be insanely talented on the defensive line. They're going to be really good at linebacker with Torrey and York. The secondary's got some issues for sure. And so I like, and in this league, it could absolutely come back to bite them. But I think everywhere else, I've got faith they're going to block well. I've got faith they're going to be able to run the football because of that offensive line. I've got faith that Connor Wegman's going to be decent, if not better than decent. And their skill at the receiver position is still very, very good. So I'm a buyer on Texas A&M, man.
I just, in my mind, if you can't get your shit right with Aeneas Smith and Devon Achane, like, what are we doing?
It's an entirely new staff. Like, this staff would have had
I
this
agree.
stuff together.
But, like, if you have these amazing weapons, what are we doing?
You also had guys like they were taking everybody. Like Evan Stewart was a locker room cancer. Like he was a destroyer of mentality, a destroyer of all. Like the stories I've heard about that dude coming out of College Station. And I'm sorry to just poo-poo on a guy, but like this is the worst kept secret in all of college sports.
Yeah,
like the dude was not good for the locker room, and they had multiple guys like that. Those guys aren't there anymore. You know, it's sort of the Florida State thing.
Oh,
the first thing Mike Norvell did was like show the door to anybody who wasn't bought in. Like, hey guys, y'all can leave. And the thing is, he couldn't kick them out. So the first year they were still there, and then the transfer portal thing happened. He was like, "All right, bet, like get out." He couldn't, but because of APR and the transfer stuff, he couldn't kick them out at first.
So I'm curious as we're going down this because we have to face these guys. LSU is always a team that's out there. I kind of have equated them to a little bit like SC, right? They lost elite quarterbacks. They both were crappy on defense last year and trying to fix that. But it feels like people think LSU has enough guys to be. And I'm curious, Felder, if you had them in your contender or pretender look, but they've got to improve on the defensive side of the ball if they're going to be in that upper echelon of the conference.
Yeah, I think they're going to be better on defense this year. And the question for me with LSU is obviously replacing a guy in Jaden Daniels that you have to worry about that. But like he's a dude, like a real dude, and obviously which makes it feel like you're clearly doing a parallel between USC and LSU. But I want to see growth out of that defensive line. I want to see these guys grow up. I want to see them turn into players. Like I remember when I think about LSU, I think about Glenn Dorsey, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think about like Caleb Chasen? Like I think about guys that were going to get to the quarterback, and now even Patrick Queen. And like at the linebacker spot, Devin White. And you want them to have those guys. And so and we're not even getting started on the defensive backs. Like I'm just talking about the front seven. And so you look at them right now, and what are we looking at right now? I want to make sure I get the names right. Savion Jones, Gio Paez, who is a transfer, grad transfer, Jacobion Gilry, Braden Swinson, Greg Penn III. Like they've got these guys all have to get it. They got to get their rear end gear.
So it sounds like you have them as a pretender at this point.
Are they ranked preseason? Where are they ranked preseason?
Yeah, they're ranked. They're ranked like 14. They're there. In the range.
I think there's this tier below those top four, right? Where like Tennessee.
The top four is
Oklahoma,
what? The top four is
Georgia,
top four,
Texas,
Georgia.
Bama. Ole Miss. I might even put Ole Miss ahead of Texas, honestly.
Sure. So we have 4.
Yeah, but
Go ahead,
there's
Roddy.
another tier. There's another tier where you have LSU, Tennessee. I don't think anybody's talking about Oklahoma. Like, I understand it's you're
It's a
shaking
brutal
your,
back half of the schedule.
You're shaking your head, Felder. You're making a face, but like,
Yeah, well, no, Roddy already said it.
Okay, the back half of the schedule is brutal.
Sure, it's the SEC. Like, get used to it. I'm
Yeah,
not saying you're going to compete for a championship.
This is hold on, but like there's the SEC and then there's Texas, South Carolina at home, Ole Miss on the road, Maine, so you get a little bit of a break. Missouri on the road, Alabama at home, LSU on the road. Like that's the SEC, but that's like the SEC on that's getting
I get it. But Oklahoma in what are we about to be year 3 with Venables? Like, yes. I didn't know how that was going to go with him making that move from DC to head coach. Like, he has culturally, like, it's working there. Look, it's not Kyle Whittingham at Utah. He hasn't been doing it for 20 years, man. But that guy, like, he's made people think that, hey, we don't have to hang 45 on everybody on Saturdays.
Right.
Like,
Can we swing back to LSU for a second? Because I like LSU. I think they.
How much?
I mean, not a ton, but I like them. I like them certainly more than you do. I think offensively they will continue to be very good. They've got probably the best. They got probably the best offensive line in the conference. 2 tackles that are like, one of them's a surefire first round pick, maybe the first overall pick, and the other one is a probable. Certainly a day 2 pick, if not a first rounder as well. They've got Mason Taylor, who's the best tight end.
Are we talking about Emory Jones?
Probably in that league. Which Emory Jones and Will Campbell. Yeah, both those guys are draft picks.
Yeah.
Will Campbell may be 1-1. Like, could be that type of trajectory to him. You still got Mason Taylor, who's one of the best, if not the best tight end in that league, one of the best in the country. Kyron Lacey's a really, really good receiver. I think Chris Hilton they really liked him and his speed. Garrett Nussmeier comes highly regarded and has shown that he's very good. I have concerns about the coordinator. Mike Denbrock was one of the best in the world at doing that job, and he'll do a great job at Notre Dame. But if you get like similar coordinator production, I think Garrett Nussmeier is going to have a phenomenal season. And if that defense is better, big if. But even with that defense being terrible last year, they were 9-3. Offense takes a slight step back. Defense takes a big step forward.
With the Heisman,
probably around the same thing.
I just am.
That's the LSU guys.
Yeah, look, it's like looking at each other in the mirror. They're like,
out the shoot. Who wins?
I like LSU. I think LSU.
I do too.
I just am so.
Not just because I need to see.
Of course,
I just think SC got overhyped. They got to get a lot better.
LSU will be better than USC. I will say that.
Yeah, I agree.
What about Ole Miss? Buy or sell? I mean, if not now, when?
I mean, it's really the stock's really high to buy.
Don't use my thing, dude.
Felder, you're on the show.
If not now, when?
Yeah, I'm a buyer on Ole Miss.
If not now, when? If not now, when?
Next year.
I mean, look, Lane Kiffin's going to be coaching
Jackson
in Gainesville.
Dart's going to be gone.
So this is
you can find another. You can find another Jackson Dart, dude. Let's not act like it's Trevor Lawrence. Like, he'll be. Like, you can find a Jackson Dart. They just got rid of Quinshon Judkins. They'll be able to buy another Walter Nolan. Like, I don't think it's.
Wait, did they get rid of him or did he leave?
Quinshon Judkins?
Both.
Yeah. A little bit of both. Like a little bit of that. Hey man, I want this number, and they're like, we can reallocate our resources very well.
Okay,
good.
Deal.
We're good.
Okay, yes, got it.
So
I was like,
I don't.
Hang on.
This is a very, very, very good team. Yeah. I don't think there's this desperation of like it'll never happen again if it doesn't happen this year. Like they're going to continue to be good. They still got resources. Lane's still going to attract quarterbacks.
Lane's not going to be there for the long haul, Roddy.
Where's he going to go?
Where's he going?
He's been everywhere else.
A blue blood or go back to the NFL. You think he's going to be in Oxford 3 years from now?
There is no.
Yes.
Do you know how messy this guy's entire life is? There is
the guy flirted with Auburn 2 years ago. Like, what makes you
and
think he's going to stick around? If you're going to hit if you think Lane Kiffin's going to be in Oxford in 2026? I don't know, man. I I don't know.
Where's he going?
Florida.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
possible.
There you go.
That's actually, you know what?
I like Jackson Dart, you guys.
I hate that you just
agree
like
that he's
cut
replaceable,
me
but
to
I
the
like.
quick.
That's fair.
We'll see.
Sure.
Speaking of
Who are
Florida,
if 5 teams get in from the SEC, and I'm not saying it is, it could only be 4. Is Ole Miss hovering around 12
Yeah,
at
I
the
think
end of the year?
I think 5 is
Yeah.
excessive. Look, I'm an
I think
SEC
5's
homer.
much.
I think 5
Yeah,
is
but
one too
4,
many.
I still think.
But I
if
think
it's 4,
it's Georgia.
We're still talking about Ole Miss.
Georgia's
Yeah,
Georgia,
I'm-
Texas, Bama,
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss, Tennessee for me.
Hey,
those are
Roddy,
the
though,
5.
slow down.
I'm
You're throwing
going
in
with
Texas. Texas is losing running backs by the day.
I know.
I'm kind
Quinn
of with Wayne here on
Why
Texas,
can't they
man.
stay healthy?
Really good players.
Well,
with you. I'm with you on the running backs at Texas.
It's
yeah.
not just the running backs, man. Like their quarterback can't stay healthy. Quinn Ewers missed multiple games last year.
He missed
multiple.
2 games. He missed 2 games.
Okay,
It's like
well,
a can't stay healthy type thing. Did he miss games the year before?
Unlike last year when Texas has to go out and play Iowa State on a backup quarterback, like this is a different league, man.
But they have a different backup quarterback this year. And
I don't want to hear about it. I don't.
You trot out with that Manning name on that
Are we
back,
talking about
baby.
Arch, baby?
And Quinn Ewers may never get that job back, baby.
Who's replacing Xavier Worthy? Who's their
That's the problem to me. Is it's not. That's not the problem. The problem for me with Texas is they lost almost 700 pounds of human.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem. And in the middle of the defensive line.
In the middle of the defensive line.
At receiver, I understand, Wayne, because their top 5 guys, 5 pass catchers are gone. They did. I mean, like Silas Bolden, shown some flashes. Isaiah Bond, shown some flashes.
I like Isaiah Bond.
Those guys are good players. And more proven out of the portal than some of these other jamokes that we are putting on.
And Quinn is very well versed in that offense, as you pointed out earlier. He's been doing this for a while.
And Sark's so good at moving the pieces around that the running back injuries will hurt them, but I think Sark will be able to hide that.
And but don't we agree? We agree with what Felder said though. They were stout up front.
Yeah,
you got to have those guys, especially in the conference they're moving to.
Losing 700 pounds of people is in just 2 guys
that's going to come into play against Georgia. It's going to come into play maybe Kentucky.
Right, not against everybody.
Yeah, it's not going to hurt them as much against everybody. It'll show its ugly head against the big boys.
We're talking about making the playoffs, so
correct. You're right.
But this is the thing we haven't talked about. It's a 12-team playoff.
We talked about that.
We talked about
it. What I
are getting in. How many 3-loss teams get in?
Ooh,
you think it's two
is the good?
Maybe 1, but I'll go 0.
Yeah, that's tough.
I think there's too many, especially if you look at the college football playoff rankings over the last however many years. Typically, the top 12 is all teams that have lost 2 games or less. It's very rare that I think there's only 1 or 2 3-loss teams that sneak in there. And there's some years where you're down to 15 and 16 before you get to teams that have 3 losses. So I don't think some of this will change with realignment, but I don't think it changes that dramatically.
I think you just nailed it though. I think realignment does just across the board. And I'm curious, I haven't crunched the numbers. But it feels like strength of schedule is just taking a notch up because there's just
they have talked a lot about that for the playoff.
Well, the teams that they've added to these conferences were no joke, right? We had, you're adding, former playoff teams. You're adding, an Oregon. You're adding a Texas. You're adding it it's not like someone's adding an extra game. Yeah,
that team out in LA that's not UCLA. I mean, what a joke that team is.
Dude, we've kicked their ass 2 of the last 3 years, and they get all of it.
Yes, we have, Wayne. Us, UCLA. We
have.
Me too. I'm on that board. I'm on board.
Yellow Jackets.
Hell yeah.
Holy cow.
You guys are psyched.
Did we spend any time on Notre Dame, you guys? I actually feel like
we did, didn't we?
They're a question
really.
mark, right? Did we spend any time on them? What do we like about them?
Defense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Defense is going to be phenomenal. Should be.
I think Freeman. I'm really interested to see what Riley Leonard looks like.
He'll be great.
I am too.
He'll be
great.
Well, Sam Hart was supposed to be great last year too.
He's another football player too, right? Though it seems
Riley
like
Leonard.
like these quarterbacks that are just football
He's a
players.
gamer.
So like,
He's a
gamer.
player. I come on. I think Notre Dame will be very good, but is 10-2 enough? Like you guys joked about it with the Swamp Ass. I think they're probably sweating it if they don't play in December.
So if their losses, let's say
If
their
they don't
losses
play
are to
in December.
Florida State and Texas A&M, their best win would be USC on the road. Is that enough to get you in the playoff?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Because USC will end up unranked, so that's
Because
not
you're gonna be taking a 12-game Notre Dame season and comparing it with a bunch of teams that played 13.
I've talked about this.
And we also
It's
need
the
to address
13th data
the
point
flaw
that
in
matters.
Yeah. We also need to address maybe the flaw in the 12-team playoff, right? There is one bid. Am I correct on this? That goes to a group of 5.
Top 5 conference champions, which means the highest ranked group of 5 champion will get in the playoff, which means you actually need to be one of the top 11 teams. And if another conference
12, 13, whatever.
And if another conference champion is outside of the top 12, you need to be one of the top 10 teams.
I don't want to hear from Wayne Cook, who has been pounding the table for the last 5 years about expanding the playoff, that there's now a flaw in a 12-team CFP.
There is. There's
all
always
of the good
be a
teams
flaw.
have left the group of 5,
Yeah.
and now we're going to give the group of 5 a bid.
Exactly. You're right. But let's go back to this though. Hold on.
Well,
Isn't it funny, you guys, that like since Steven's freaking poking me right now, for years, you and Serber, every time I talked about expanding the playoffs, would freaking hit the horn.
Yeah, we had a horn.
Give me so much crap. And everybody fought. And now every show I'm watching, isn't it going to be great how many more teams are involved and how all this is going to play out? And it's like, everybody's just turned. And then they
trough. You're feeding at the trough. You turn on the 4-letter network, which owns the entire thing.
I listen to everything you guys are doing. I listen to ACC.
Man.
I've been locked in. And it's so funny how people are all so excited about this now. More fan bases are going to be involved. It's been funny.
Well, that's a fact. I mean, that is a fact. It's also, frankly, it's a healthier sport when folks across the country are invested. And I understand Michigan is the reigning national champ, but like college football has been dominated by a small part of the country for the last decade.
Also, we haven't
longer than a decade, bro.
We haven't even talked about Michigan.
You're going back to Florida in the mid-2000s.
I don't think Michigan's going to be going to be great this year, man. Do you?
No.
8 wins?
Yeah. I think they might get their shit kicked in week 2 when Texas comes to town.
I think that's aggressive. That
is it?
Still gonna be
it's a noon game at the Big House. Like
defense
I don't think
still
Texas
gonna be very good.
Oh, okay.
Quarterback position's a big
obviously they
yeah.
Well.
How do we feel about Alex Orji throwing the ball downfield? Anyone?
He hasn't won the job yet, has he?
Love orgies in the end zone.
Well, listen, they also have the kid from Utah, Jack Tuttle.
Oh, Roddy, come on. Slide that one in there.
Shout out to RG3, man. Like, shout out to RG3.
Are you doing that game?
He got let go today.
Did get let go today.
Wait, what?
RG3 got fired. He actually tweeted something on his account, the clip from Friday. He's like, man, you got fired on your day off?
Man, how do you get fired on your day off?
Yeah, it's a real thing.
I didn't get fired. I got let go.
Hey, guess what, guys? RG3 is going to be just fine. Okay.
Yeah, he's getting paid. His 7-figure-a-year contract getting paid out for the next couple of years.
Yeah, for
Shout
2
out
years.
And
meanwhile, Michael Felder doesn't have a job.
You're here. What are you talking about? We're talking college sports here on the internet.
You just dropped your Bleacher Report, like, hey, I did my thing on Bleacher Report.
This is worldwide, Felder. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Folks
Bleacher
from all
Report,
over the planet can watch
now.
this.
You got the Substack going.
And the dirt. I mean, come on, dude.
Roddy,
you kidding me?
You guys had an in-person show on Hand
Not
in the Dirt.
yet.
Didn't even invite your boy.
Hang on. It hasn't happened yet, and we're selling koozies.
Didn't invite you.
I'm not invited. I never got an invite. I had to find out on the internet.
You want a ticket?
No.
Where do you think everybody else finds out about it?
I mean, you guys are my boys. Not everybody knows you guys. Like, I could have got to tell. Hey, man, I know North Carolina is like the second home. I know Ovius and Gilio are your boys.
We talked about it when we were in Charlotte together.
Maybe I don't know if you can, but like maybe we could link. You could come to the show. We'll get you a ticket.
Why don't you come to the show?
Come to the show. We'll get you a ticket. You can drive
you in the
up.
Reserve seating.
On the I got to find out on the interwebs.
I got a hotel room. You might be able to crash with me.
I can't.
God.
I'll put you in the reserve seating.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the late, half-hearted invites from
It's
you.
not half-hearted, Roddy. What are you talking about?
If it wasn't half-hearted, it would have been preempted. You would have thought about it. It would have been the first thing you guys said to me before I started.
I don't want you know why I didn't invite you, because I don't want to pry you away from your TV set watching Knowles Jackets at noon to hop on I-85 and come up to Raleigh and hang out with us.
I'd already be up there. We could have watched it together, but no, it's all good. It's okay.
Unbelievable. You know what I have to do that day?
No.
Oh,
I have my kid's birthday party.
Yes, you do.
At the pool. It starts at 11 a.m. The
Felder,
football
is that your
game starts
nightmare?
at noon.
Kid's birthday party at the pool.
Felder hates the pool. I love the pool, okay?
Yes.
I like going and taking my kids to the pool and drinking 4 Michelob Ultras and just catching some rays, okay? Yeah. I like
Where's
that.
the magic number?
Well, Felder brought this up, and I think 4 is an
it's
an ideal number.
Just a little bit of a buzz, but you're okay.
Yeah.
I run home from the pool.
Yeah, that's next level stuff.
That's why you look the way you do.
That's next level stuff. So, folks, we did the show. Thank you for listening.
Wait, we didn't talk about who's going to win the Group of 5 bid.
We did, but everybody's saying like Boise State, and there's some popular picks, but like I don't have any idea.
There's no way that Boise State wins it.
Probably.
My head says Memphis. My heart says JMU. You know where I stand.
Of course, I JMU. There you
Bob
go.
Chesney's got a rude awakening coming.
By the way, your boy secured.
I'm living with Troy.
Took that whole roster.
Your boy secured Thursday night lights in Harrisonburg today. Coastal at JMU. Thursday night in October. I'll be there. Roddy, I hope to see you there.
Sell me on Troy.
Sell you on Troy? All right, hang on. Let me hit this one real quick.
So they got a new coach. Who is their new coach?
Sunbelt's a good league.
Oh, Jared Parker, the guy from Notre Dame. Get out of here.
I did. These guys hijacked it from me. But look,
Gerard Parker. You kidding me? They brought in a bunch of transfers. But I love what?
We are dropping 3 shows next week. Okay, I get to talk to each of you one-on-one. There will be Boku college football talk.
Are we doing a Friday show? Do I have to do the Friday show before I drive to Raleigh?
We don't call it Felder Friday for nothing, big guy. Okay, so we've got Roddy on Tuesday, we got Wayne on Thursday, we got Felder on Friday. Phil Steele's going to be in the house next week.
Goose is still going to be in the building.
Wait, did my schedule bump Wayne from Tuesday to Wednesday or Wednesday to Thursday?
Listen, the audience doesn't know that I'm taping with Wayne on Tuesday night. Okay, it
but
publishes on Wednesday.
Wayne, you said Thursday.
I said Wednesday. I thought. Did I say Thursday?
We'll check the tape.
We'll clean it up in post.
I'm on Friday.
Yes, Felder, you are on Friday. You're always
Don't
on
yell
Friday.
at me.
I'm not yelling. I'm excited. Okay, I'm excited. Thank you guys for talking a little preseason football. It's here, man. We're single-digit days until toe meets leather. It's a good thing. Thank you guys for listening. We're on YouTube. Check out the Varsity channel.
What do you guys think about the new NFL kickoff rule?
Sucks.
I don't love it.
Weird.
And guess what?
Weird.
If recent history is any indication, it's probably coming to Saturday football too.
It will likely not. The head of officials presented to us at the little seminar thing we do.
Steve Shaw?
Yeah.
Steve Shaw, your boy. And basically what Steve said is like, look, the NFL's percentage of returns was so low that they had to do something to get the kickoff back as a play. The percentage of kickoff return in college is still at a level that they are very happy with. The injury stuff that the NFL has talked about has not shown up in college. So really the NFL just wanted kickoffs back, and they tried to figure out a way to do it because the kickers were too good. They were kicking out of the back of the end zone.
Well, it looks like
welcome to College Sports Now, an NFL podcast about college. I'm teasing. I'm not watching the NFL, man. People they're not gonna lure me in. People are trying to talk about the Falcons. I'm not here for it, Roddy. I won't be
We got
swayed.
Matt Judon now.
I don't care. Thank you guys for listening. We will be back next week with not 1, not 2, but 3 shows walking you up to week 0. You got to love it. Boys, enjoyed it.
I just like to interrupt Stephen.
I know you do.